Well, good evening. My name is Cindy Cogdell, and I am a pre-law advisor and advising dean in the Center for Student Advising. Our office is located in 403 Lerner, same place where your advising dean is located. You can make I'm part of, there's two other pre-law advisors. There's Megan Rigney, who is who oversees pre-professional advising, and then my colleague Nikki Cunningham, and she splits her time between, she does primarily pre-health advising, some pre-business, and some pre-law advising as well. And you can make an appointment with either three of us using the same way that you do to make an appointment to meet with your advisor, by logging into the portal and selecting pre-law advising as the advising type. And it is the advising appointment time, the length of appointment is set at 30 minutes. So if it's less than, that's fine. If you need more time, you can make a second appointment. And depending on if, for example, if I don't have another appointment right after yours, and you've got the time, we can have a longer conversation if need be. But we are open 12 months out of the year, so you can make an appointment. I have appointments. It's primarily me, just me in the summer, because the Megan and Nikki are writing what's called a pre-health committee letter for all Columbians from the college and engineering applying to medical school, so they are extremely busy, but we are available 12 months out of the year. If there's ever a case where you do need to meet with me, for example, you've got a time sensitive question and I don't have availability, you can email me, and I prefer email over text, but you can email me and state your the availability for that week, and I will try to, and when you need to hear back from me by, and I will do my very best to meet with you, so that you're not like sitting and upset that you couldn't get an appointment. All right. So tonight I want to go over just recommendations and tips for pre-law students who are thinking about going to law school, in hopes that you will, it'll answer a lot of your questions, and a lot of my tips and recommendations are based off of questions that I've received over the years from students about what they should be doing as a first year or a sophomore or as a junior. So this is where I've come up with this information, created this, and I just thought, instead of me repeating myself over and over again, to do a presentation and cover the popular questions that I receive on a regular basis. However, tonight, if you've got a question about anything that I say, or you have a question that maybe doesn't come up in the list that I cover, please feel free to ask your questions, either in the chat or just, you can just say it out loud. So one of the most frequent questions, and I will send you also this sheet probably early next week, because I want to, it's a working document, and I will keep adding to it, and I will keep updating it, and I will send it out periodically with updates to let you know. And one area that I really want to beef up is resources such as podcasts books, online resources that you can um, review, look at, listen to help you in your quest to become law students. So one of the questions that I get a lot from first years and sophomores is there a concentration or major that I need to select? Do law schools care what I study as an undergrad? You all are very fortunate to be at a place like Columbia, where you have the core curriculum for the college, and also having some core liberal arts classes for engineers that will really serve as a wonderful foundation for law school. And I've heard that repeatedly from alums who have gone to law school, who graduated. So obviously if they're alums, they graduated, right? So anyway, so what I hear from law schools, because of the type of school Columbia is, because you're getting a great liberal arts education or science education with liberal arts added in, you don't need to worry about what you major or concentrate in. You don't have to feel pressured to do a double concentration or a concentrate, you don't have to double up on anything. So it's really up to you to study what you love, what you're interested in. And hopefully that means you will also do better. You will do well. I don't know about better, but you will do well in your studies because you're studying what you like. And you want to study what plays to your strengths. Would also, I know it's important to challenge yourself, but I have seen people who said, well, I probably shouldn't have done econ or math major or remained in a hard science, but I wanted to challenge myself. And then, and they ended up with having so-so grades. Well, that's not really going to help them from the standpoint of law school admissions. It's admirable, but when applying to law school, two of the major factors that will typically determine where you will be a competitive applicant are your LSAT score and your GPA. So I'm not saying take an easy route. I'm not saying not to take any difficult courses. You could always pass, we can talk about this in the college, and you can always pass fail courses. I wouldn't do that, but maybe a couple of times. But you want to be aware that GPA is important. Is an important part of your application to law school. And again, I just want to drive home the fact that you don't need to overdo it. You don't need to take 17, 18 credits a semester. You don't have to have 2 programs of study. You can, if you're a Columbia College student, you can graduate with a concentration, and you still have your 124 credits. So that's what's important, is how well you do in the classes that you do complete, and not what your transcript says were your programs of study. Are there any questions about that? And I know students get pressure from parents sometimes. You can show them this video if it would help with me saying this. I would be willing to talk to a parent if they want to take me to task about this. But it's really about you studying what you're interested in, what your calling is. So one of the things you want to do as a first year and second year is you want to determine what are your limits. And what I mean by that is how many credits, and sometimes it depends on also the classes that you're taking, right? So you want to be intentional about, okay, these 4 classes or 5 classes look like they would go well together. So that you're not going too easy, but you're also not having too much work. You may not want 3 classes that have, 15, 20-page papers, or a lot of problem sets, or computer programming. If you're a computer science major. So you want to be intentional about how you're pairing your classes, how you're developing your schedule. And when there are a handful of law schools, the top, as a matter of fact, that require what's called the dean certification from alums that are going to matriculate each fall. And I have to fill that out, and I have to look at their grades. And, there are people getting into Yale, Stanford, Harvard, Columbia that took 12 to 14 credits a semester. It took 4 classes. I know in some majors, and especially if you were trying you were trying out different majors or concentrations, you might have to end up with the 15, 16, taking 5 classes every once in a while. But you don't have to push it to the edge or or having to petition to go over that 18 credit limit. So don't feel the pressure to do that. One of the other things about that balance is the amount of classes that you take, as well as the amount of activities that you are involved in. Being involved as an undergraduate is important to law schools. You want to be able to demonstrate that you were an active member of some community. It could be the Columbia community. It could be maybe at home, you're still doing things remotely and you go back in the summers, or you are involved in organizations and outside of Columbia, here in New York City, and you're off campus doing volunteer work, or you're doing internships. So you've got to figure out, what's a nice balance. When I hear some people's schedules and all that they're trying to do, it's like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. So you have to figure out, you want to maintain a balance where you're still able to sleep, eat properly, get some exercise, have some fun with your friends, and not be all work, pre-professional. All right. You want to try your best. And I know this is hard to do, but for a lot of people, it's hard to do, but try to find that balance. And I think, and it ties into my next point, is if you can, Columbia students one-on-one are lovely, but there's this group mentality that you got to do more, and why, and people get scrutinized, or people feel scrutinized. Why aren't you doing an internship? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? You have to do this. You have to do that. You do not. There's a lot of, you need to figure out what works for you and try to tune out the noise, basically, and walk your own walk. And, check it. If you're unsure, you can check in with me. If you're not, doing enough, or you feel like you're not doing enough, You can check in with me, you can check in with your advising dean and have a discussion about that. But, you know, to me, it makes no sense for you to feel like you are a hamster on a wheel and you're just running from one thing to the next. And if I see this with my advisees, if they become ill, they can get behind very, very quickly. And then it's like catch up. So be kind to yourself and take care of yourself, and you will do fine in this process. And if you have concerns about that, I'm happy to talk to folks. I'm happy to talk with you. You can make an appointment, just discuss that if you want. And back to the pass fail, pass D fail. Well, I'll say pass fail because no one wants a D, or pass fail for engineers. I would recommend that you only maybe have no more than 2 classes unless you get into a bind. Take more than 2 classes, pass, fail during your undergraduate career. But again, if you do get into a bind and you need to take a 3rd class, pass, fail, it's not a deal breaker. It's not the end of the world as far as going to law school. What else do I want to say about that? Another question that I get are there any questions about that? I don't mean to come off preachy, but I want to make sure people are taking care of themselves. So another point that you want to think about is I get asked, are there classes I should be taking? If you're a little shaky on how our federal government, the different, what's the word I'm looking for? The executive branch, the different branches, that's the word, executive branches work, then you might, and these are all might, none of the classes I'm going to recommend do you need to take, do you absolutely need to take. Please don't take something that you're not interested in or you feel is not a good idea for your GPA. One would be, again, taking an American government class, the Intro to American Government, if you feel shaky in that area. Another one would be Principles of Economics class. It was recommended to me by previous students in law school because they said that a lot of economic terms are thrown around or introduced in the cases that they're reading. So to have that background can be helpful. Again, an intro, you don't need to be an econ major or concentrator. If, for the purposes of, if you're going to take the LSAT, you may want to take, and you feel like logical, if you don't like logic games, or maybe you try out logic games and you're like, this is really not my cup of tea. This is something that I'm going to have to really work at. You might want to take the Introduction to Logic class that is taught through the philosophy department. It's a 1,000-level course, not symbolic logic. Students have told me that symbolic logic is taught at a much higher or advanced level than you need for the LSAT. So if you're not, if you're not a fan of or you've never been introduced to logic and you're not majoring in philosophy, you don't need to take the class. Math could help. Again, Some people are like thankful that Columbia does not, I have advisees tell me that they're thankful that Columbia does not have a math requirement. So if that's you, don't take a math class. But it could help you sharpen your analytical skills. You could take a public speaking class that's offered over at Barnard if that you felt that that would be helpful to you. Oh, also around logic, if you're a political science major or concentrator, you can take, there's a class called Logic of Collective Choice that is a logical reasoning course. There's one other, and it's not coming to my mind at the moment, but Logic of Collective Choice, and I believe it's being taught this semester. So it had not been taught for the last year or so, but it's the professor who teaches it is back and offered it this semester. And then I encourage you, you don't have to, and I'm going to try to collect all of this. I keep saying I'm going to do this. There are law-related classes that are offered through poli-sci, the history department. The Italian department offered one last spring, and I sent out an announcement about it, and most of the class ended up being pre-law students that took the class. So history, also Center for Ethnicity and Race, psychology has some, sociology, I think maybe anthro, English. I am probably leaving out. There's probably some that I'm leaving out, but you can look and I wanted to do this. Registration is the week, fall registration starts the 17th of this month. So you could start looking at the directory of classes and see if there's any classes that might be of interest to you, either that would fulfill a requirement for your major or concentration or potential, or you just want to take a class, a class for fun. So I encourage that as well. If you are a C's undergraduate or a science, Columbia College student who's majoring in the sciences or econ, one recommendation I have for you is you're going to need 2 faculty letters of recommendation when you apply to law school. And ideally, those letters should come from faculty who you've had to write papers for and analyze text. So that's another consideration when choosing classes. What are the assignments when you're shopping for classes, or if you can find out that information beforehand when creating your wish list? What have been the past assignments? Because you want to make sure, again, if you're a science major or engineer or econ major, that you are, that you take 1 or 2 classes where you've had to write papers. And so, it's good to know this on the front end so that you can plan for that in your junior and senior year. Another point, I keep saying senior year. About 75% of Columbians take time off. Well, it's not time off. I should not call it time off because you're not on vacation. You're working or in school, but they have a gap year of 1 to 3 gap years between undergrad and starting law school. So you don't have to feel rushed to be applying as a senior. You can if you want, but you don't have to if you would like to slow it down and go out and work. And I talk more about that in the law school application process, but that's something to consider, is that it might, for several reasons, be a good thing for you to do, as to take that, complete your undergraduate career and then apply to law school. You can go out and get experience. You can have your senior year grades. You actually get a break from school. Get to learn more about maybe what you want to get out of your legal education, or maybe if you're unsure about law school, it might help confirm whether it's a good choice or not. So it's something to think about. And you will find, I don't know if the juniors want to chime in, but your time at Columbia goes by very, very quickly. And I know on some, it's like for everyone, right? Some days feel like, or weeks, like they're never going to end. But in its totality, it's going to feel like a blink of an eye. So I would say slow it down, enjoy your time at Columbia, and then go to law school. So one of the things that you want to think about is, and I'm sure you probably are doing this anyway, but I feel the need to say it, is to be involved, be actively participate. I know participation for smaller classes, especially for the core, are a big part of your grade, or a significant part of your grade. But take classes that you're interested in, be involved in class discussions in those smaller classes or in your discussion sections, go to office hours, and try to make a connection with the instructor. They don't necessarily have to know. I mean, it's nice when it's organic and you get to learn about them, and they get to learn about your life and what you're interested in. But most importantly, hearing how you think, your contributions in class, that's crucial for these letters of recommendation. Also think about, when planning your schedule, is there, for example, your Lit Hum instructor, does that instructor teach an upper level, maybe you hit it off with this instructor. Does that instructor teach an upper level class that's of interest to you? Or you feel like this instruction, you may not be so much interested in the subject, but the instructor makes the class, and it's worth taking. So that's another thing to think about, because that gives the instructor two opportunities to get to know you, observe you, and hopefully that will result in a stronger letter of recommendation. As far as extracurricular activities and volunteer work, follow what interests you. There is no one activity. If you want to be a part of the Pre-Law Journal or the Pre-Law Society or some other professional organization, that is fine. But law schools don't require it, and they're not looking for it necessarily. So, be involved in things that make sense to you. And hopefully have a leadership position in one or two of your organizations. And you don't have to do the kind of, I know in high school, I read my advisee's application to Columbia, and this is true around the country. You were involved in so many activities as a high school student to get into Columbia. For the purposes of law school, I would say depth versus breadth is more important. Now, that doesn't mean that, as a first year and sophomore, you tried out some activities and then you drop those activities as a junior or senior. That's fine. You don't have to stick with everything that you start, but find one or two activities that are meaningful to you, whether they're on campus or off campus, or your own individual project that shows that you are, and this could be volunteer, that are meaningful to you, and stick with those. The other point I want to make is if you have to work to earn your work study, or you have to supplement what your parents are giving you to live off of, it's law schools respect that and consider that an activity. I would encourage you to consider that as an activity. You've only got so many hours in the week. So if you're working 10 hours, or if you're an athlete, athletes are I would expect athletes to have less activities. I'm always amazed when somebody doesn't. I'm like, when do they sleep? But it's not expected that, you burn the candle at both ends for the purposes of being involved on campus or off campus. So if you have to work, and the same, if you're a first year and you've got to, or a sophomore, and this summer you've got to go home and you've got to work and make as much money as you can to save, to finance the next year, that's fine. You can work as a waiter, camp, scooping ice cream. It doesn't matter. And there's lessons and things that you can learn from that, or painting houses, digging ditches, mowing lawns. It doesn't, manual labor or work that's not necessarily related to your career goals, professional goals, is fine. They're not going to turn their nose up at that. I would say, especially if you're interested, I think this is a good thing to do, just to be a good citizen, if you've got the time, is to do at least some occasional community service. You can there's many organizations through Community Impact that you can volunteer with. But if you don't have the time, that's fine. Or maybe you can find one-off things that you can do that are not, a weekly commitment. If you're interested, especially if you're sorry. So if you're hoping to pursue public interest law, it's very important that you show that you want to advocate and serve others. And one of the best ways to do that is through volunteer work. And if you need ideas about that, or well as internships, if you need ideas about that, that's great. One of the other things I want to recommend, if you are on, two things about funding internships. So if you are a work study student, I want to make sure that everyone's aware through the Center for Career Education, you can apply for work study exemption and have your contribution for that semester or for the year met through the work study exemption and work at an organization that maybe does not pay, for example, if you wanted to do some community service work. If you wanted to, work off campus, you can apply for that. So look at their website, or work for a lot of nonprofit organizations to have your work study contribution covered through doing the internship with an organization. And if you've got any questions about that, I'm happy to answer those individually. The other is right now, there's summer funding through CCE. So if you have a low paying or a non-paying internship, and low paying means below the minimum wage in New York State, which I think is like 15 something, or sorry. I should have turned on the air and shut the window. I apologize. For $16, it's either 16 something. Does anybody know the? But
I think the website says 15.
Okay, so if you're earning below 15, you can apply for summer funding. And that date, it's due soon. So you have to have a job. So if it's not working out for this summer, know for next summer that you can try to pursue internships that maybe don't pay again, or low pay in the field of interest, if you're wanting to do more public interest type work. Also, if you're interested in public interest law, the more languages you know, the better. So at least being fluent in another language besides English is highly recommended. Especially those languages that are used, that are commonly spoken, which I would say Spanish, in New York City anyway, Spanish, French, and Chinese would be very valuable. There's others too. Any language that would be other than English would be useful. Someone wrote, I'm from California and usually work over the summer. So if the minimum is over the New York, would be, that's a great question. I would go ahead, I would address that to the CCE. I think they're going to use the New York rate, but please, and if you don't know where to email, send me an email and I will, I'll forward it to you. But I think it's cce@columbia.edu. They may have a specific one though for the summer funding. So I want to show you, a couple of things before I show you a few websites that I think, well, not I think, I know are valuable websites for pre-law students, and to start looking at them now, it's not too early. One of the things, before I do that, you also want to keep a clean disciplinary record and a clean criminal record. So it's important that I'll speak to disciplinary records for infractions on campus. My recommendation is if you see something happening in a party in a room, or something, or friends are getting out of control, or the situation's getting out of control and somebody could get into trouble, I would pardon myself and and take leave, because you don't want to have to, it can be embarrassing, it can be a hassle. You want to try to prevent having any disciplinary sanctions while you're an undergrad. And people do things that are innocuous, like go into tunnels that they shouldn't, or up onto roofs that they shouldn't go on, and onto somebody's laughing. And I know that it happens, right? I know, and I know that the temptation is there, but you don't want to get caught. And so I would say, don't do it. But and if you do it, will it keep you out of law school if you went on top of one of the, I say roof, my southern accent comes out with that word, onto top of a building here on campus, and you get caught? Well, then you take your, you take your medicine. But try to stay away from infractions that are avoidable, if at all. It would be my recommendation. And if you do encounter the disciplinary sanction, and the other thing is, in all seriousness, I see people, advisees, that if you told me that they would be charged with a academic dishonesty, I would be, I'm shocked. I've stopped being shocked, but I'm surprised, because I'm like, huh? This person did that? It happens because good people make dumb decisions when they're under stress, and they feel like their back is against the wall. You can tell your friends this. It is much better if you ever find yourself where you're like, I can't get all this work done by this deadline. It's not going to happen, or I'm putting together I'm writing a terrible paper. I need more time. I know if I turn it in late, I'm going to be penalized. People get caught for academic dishonesty. So do yourself a favor and go to bed. And these decisions always happen, I think, mostly, not always, but typically happen in the middle of the night. So you can't call, me or someone else to say, what should I do? And you just and people go for it. And then they live to regret it. So do yourself a favor and just go to bed, email your faculty member and your advisor, and try to work something out. It's just not worth it. Also, be careful with use of credit. You may, hopefully, if you have to take out loans, you will only have to take out federal student loans and not any private loans to pay for law school. And that's a whole nother session with information. But, try to use credit responsibly as an undergrad. One of the other things that you can do, and I'm going to then start and I will be sending, just so you know, on this sheet of recommendations, there's ideas for you to learn more about the law. So I'm not going to go through all of those, but you will see them on the sheet. And that's the part that I'm going to be really beefing up in the next couple of months. But I would say one of the things you also wanted, a great resource at Columbia for Columbia College students, is to register for the Odyssey Mentoring Program. Has everybody heard that? of that program. The Odyssey Mentoring Program is a database of alums who have agreed to serve to be contacted by undergrads and younger alums to talk about their careers. So I really, really encourage you to take advantage of that. And it's called Columbia Odyssey Mentoring Program. Again, I would encourage you to take advantage of that. Another thing that you can do that I didn't mention, I may have taken it out. One is you can also learn more about, I'm hopeful that in the near future, Columbia law will once again allow, they stopped doing this because of COVID and they haven't reinstituted it, but they would allow visitors to a whole host of classes that they would advertise on their website, so that you could go and visit. You know, you don't want to go there every day that it meets like you're in the class, but to visit it once or twice. And it's wide, it's a broad list from seminars to classes you would take as a 1L. And so that would give you a sense of what it's like as a law student at Columbia. And it would give you a chance, hopefully, while you're sitting there waiting for class to begin or afterwards, to maybe strike up a conversation with a law student. But hopefully they will again open their classrooms in the fall. My fingers are crossed. And if they do, I will, of course, I will advertise that on the web, on the listserv, because I think it's just a great opportunity for undergrads. And I would also look, you can do this now, you know, look at the events being offered at Columbia Law and other law schools around the country that you might be interested in. Some of them will have Zoom that are open. They've got the Zoom link right there. They don't care. And you could attend and take advantage and just hear what that is like with different speakers that in different areas of law that you're interested in. Let's see what else. I will also, I try to send this out once a semester, but I will put it on this list of resources of websites to look at for internships. So if anyone, I'll just go through them quickly. If you're still looking for an internship this summer, or maybe one for next year if you want, I would look at, of course, Lionshare, start there. But I would also, and they don't have to be a legal internship. So think about what legal internships are hard to get as an undergraduate because they give them to law students. But there are sometimes opportunities. But think about what profession you are interested in or issues that you're interested in that intersects with your interest in law. And let's face it, every aspect of our life intersect with the law. Every industry intersects with the law. So, you know, I was talking to someone today who's interested in educational policy and what type of internships could she look for? And she's also interested in public health. What kind of internships and where would she find them? So I would look at Indeed.com. I would look at internships.com. I would look at LinkedIn. I would look at idealist.org. That's a lot of nonprofit. idealist.org. And the other one, if you're interested in public policy or political science or Um, um, government office or running for, working with politicians, I would look at Poly Corner, POLI corner.org, Poly Corner. And you might still be able, it's within the realm of possibilities of still getting an internship. I don't think it's out of the question or too late. But I think it'll also come down to how much time do you really have right now to be devoting to a summer internship search with classes ending in a few weeks, right? How many more weeks do we have? 4 or 5 weeks? That's about it. 4 weeks. So you all are getting near the end. I guess I don't need to tell you that. So let me show you 2 websites before I conclude. Share my screen. Access Lex. And the web, I'll have the web address on the on the sheet for you. They really deal with access to law school, being able to fund it, financing it, providing information about financing, how to set a budget, educating people about budgets. They even do some programming about, and you'll see this in a minute, events that they do about law school, what it's like to be in law school. They had one tonight that I just noticed, and I'm on their list and I'm not getting their emails. So I need to look at this like every Monday or Sunday. I need to go in here and look and send out reminders to people. Another thing that they do, so they're really about how do you fund a legal education? How does one finance a legal education? The process, things to think about. They've got tools, some wonderful tools that you can use. So one of the things that so financial education, here we go. So, and they work with law students. So this is something that you can, bookmark today and continue to use their service throughout your time in law school. And one of the nice things that they have, I don't know that any of you would need this right now, is that you can talk with the financial counselor for free, and they're certified, about questions that you have around or concerns that you have around financing law school. The other great thing that they have is, let me see if I can just find it quickly. They've taken, I am so glad this exists. Oh, Scholarship Bank. Sorry, I put in data. Scholarship. This is there. Sorry. This is not what I want. It's a database. That's the word I'm looking for. Scholarship database. I think this is the announcement, but let's see, maybe if I go here, it'll give the link to it. So this is a pretty comprehensive database of scholarships that are available out there. So I encourage you to bookmark
Sorry.
this. I'm sorry, can you see it?
Sorry, no,
Can you see anything? What do you,
no,
okay,
you.
let me reshare. Share. Did you not see, you all didn't see any of that, did you? Okay,
I was Googling on the websites on the side, and then I didn't realize that you were trying to share.
sorry about that. Here we go. So this is Access Lex Institute. So this is one of, here's the, let me get this out of the way. Here's the database, and you can search. And again, this is something that you can also utilize when you're in law school. And the financial aid office of your law school will also have specific specific scholarships that they will advertise as well. But anyway, I encourage you to bookmark this and just look to see. See this one, you've got to be involved, you got to be enrolled in a California law school, so they can vary, but it's definitely worth looking at. If you apply to Columbia Law and you get in, there's also a Columbia, there's also a scholarship that you can apply for that is specific to Columbia College, for Columbia College students. And you would be notified by Columbia Law that you can apply for it. But if you had questions about that, I can show you the link to that. It's listed also. It's got a long name. That I can show you where it's listed on the undergraduate fellowships office website, their database of scholarships and fellowships. So then they also have, let me see here, step around. I want to go back to they've got a lot of tools and resources. Worksheets. This also, I'm not going to spend time on this, but to compare law schools to see what type of funding, what type of grants that they give their students and the cost. And I'll try to do a program maybe on that at some point. But this is very, very helpful. So this is the Access Connects, is the student loan helpline. And then Prepare for Law School, this and diversity program, I would look at this also. If you are, let me just take a look at it. Now, LSAC also has some of this, but not all of it. This has a little bit more, like Catalyst by SEO all these different law school programs. So I encourage you to take a look at this if you're from an underrepresented group in the legal profession. So that's a database that can be helpful. Student loan calculator to crunch the numbers. Let's see here. This is talking about their financial counselors. I think what else? Oh, and this is the other thing I want to show you tonight, which is I recommend that you all, and I'll have this on the sheet, Ask Edna. To subscribe to it, you will hear about upcoming programs and resources that are available to you through Access Flex. One of the things that they do, there's tips and resources for success in law school once you get there. Let me see. This toolkit, hold on. Oops, I thought I was. Sorry about that. I'm looking for their. They've got a lot of personal finance, tips and resources. I also want for their events. Hold on just a second. Sorry about this. Let me see. Oops. I was just looking at it before this program. I'll just go back to access. I go to events. Well, here's one event. Oh, here. Oh, that's Barks. I'm sorry. See if I can get to. Well, this is embarrassing. Let me just go to accesslex.org. back to the home page here. All right. Student events. Finally. So this is happening tonight at 8 o'clock. Webinar law school panel. I'm going to find out. I don't think they record. I wish they did. That they record their events. LSAC, the Law School Admissions Council, they record theirs. But this is something, you know, they'll do this webinar again. Applying to law school, April 11th. I'm going to definitely send that out. One for underrepresented students. I'm definitely going to, oh, here's another one, April 13th, law student panel. So I will advertise these all of these programs. And you'll see that they also have some for students who are getting ready to go to law school and those that are in law school. So I encourage you to take advantage. But again, to be in the know, I would register with Hello Edna. The next website that I want to show you, and I recommend that you all bookmark, is Law Hub. I mean, LSAC, lsac.org. This is where you're going to, if you're taking the LSAT, this is where you're going to register for the LSAT. That's the other thing. If you think you might want to take the LSAT, one of the things that you can do is they have partnered with LSAC has partnered with Khan Academy. And you can just learn about the LSAT. You could take a practice test. And you can prepare. So prep options, they've got Khan Academy, and it's not too early, and it's free. If you wanted to start in a kind of not, you know, an easy, relaxed sort of way over the summer or during your breaks, and you just want to know kind of what it's like, you certainly can do that. And I did a LSAT GRE prep info session. So if you missed that, well, I'm going to send it out on the listserv. So I encourage you to look at that if you would like. Either, you know, if you're a first year, you can look at it now, or you can wait. I will do the program every year. But anyway, to, you know, give you some idea about what is coming down the pike and what the LSAT is like. For students from underrepresented groups, well, that's not it, sorry. This is just Discover Law, different fields of law that you could read about, degree programs, preparing. Diversity, this is what I was looking for. Diversity in law for international students. But the one thing that you want, I would encourage you to read, it's definitely not too early, is to subscribe to Law Hub now, because this is all things about law school. One of the things that they have, let me go to Law Hub, see if I can get in. They've got I Am the Law podcast, which is helpful. And they're going to be adding more. And it's about, they interview people from different areas of the law. They have Law Hub pre-law events that you can attend. And like I said, one of the things that they do well is they record. They've got all of these past an inside look at law admissions, preparing for the LSAT. What law, making transition to law school. So they've got someone, and it goes back for 2 years, utilizing Khan Academy. So I encourage you to sign up with the Law Hub, take advantage of these events, resources, and, go from there. Does anybody have any questions? I know I've kept you over the hour.
I asked a question in the chat about LSAC, and I remember I met with you before and you mentioned how you should apply for a waiver beforehand if you're an FGLI student, but I don't remember the specific time frame that you recommended, or how to apply for those waivers.
So if you go to the LSAT, and another, I just sent it out on the listserv this week. They now are going to offer the LSAT in person at a test center, or you can take it in the privacy of your own home or residence hall room. So that's a great thing that they've added the test center option. So what you would do here is the LSAT. Here's the accommodations. Let's see, it's probably under cost. And you notice these are 22, 23. So I don't know if it's going to go up. So the fee waivers are right here. With the eligibility and the approval process, whether you're eligible. I'm so thankful that DACA students are eligible. And then they talk about the 2 tiers that they have and what each tier covers. So you want to get a fee waiver, I would say, it's up to you, but I would say 6 to 8 months in advance of when you plan to take the LSAT, so that you can get, for example, you can get the official LSAT prep, the set plus, which is over 80, it says 75, but it's over 80 practice tests. And then you also get 6 CAS reports that I talked about those are $45 a piece when you apply. I talked about those in the law school application process workshop, and it covers 2 LSATs in case you needed to, in case an applicant needed to retake it. So it's, and score preview. So you get to see your LSAT and decide whether you're going to keep it or not. And then, so that's worth a lot. That's, $45 right now, or $75 if you, they're allowing it for the late people who sign up for it after they take the test. It's become $75, so that's great. And with this LSAT Prep Plus, a lot, well, not a lot, there are a few commercial prep organizations, companies, that if you receive a fee waiver from LSAC, they'll also waive their, they'll also offer a free class. So that's worth a lot of money. So I encourage people to apply for the fee waiver, several months out before they start, so that they can take advantage of all the prep materials, basically. And I talked
I have
about it-
another.
Sure.
Sorry. I was gonna ask if these same opportunities are available for the GRE since it's an option for law schools now. Do they have like these waivers or assistance?
They have-
same type?
They do have an assistance program. It is not as generous. When I send out the GRE, when I send out the LSAT GRE handout as well as the recording, it's listed there so that you can go right to it. You can find. Any other questions before I end tonight? Well, I thank you all for your patience and please make an appointment with me if you have any questions. And I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.